All right. Here I am. I am here. I am not effing. I'm actually here. I'm updating the calendar and some stuff. In fact, let me show you really quick. So, oh my gosh, Rob, be quiet. So, a couple changes here. Not just updates to Steam. I'm still going to try to do 6:30 to 7, but I just wanted you to know we're just going to lump all of these together. We're going to keep them on the weekdays, and we're going to try to make it 6:30 to 7. And the questions can be about anything. So if you have a question, just go ahead and put that in the Discord in advance, or just do the live questions, and we'll just go with it from that. So you can skip past this. We've tended to take on one topic at a time, just based on the questions, but we've done like two, maybe a couple days. So there you go. Sam, out. It's too noisy. I'm sorry. My wife is making dinner and she's using the chopping board. It's driving me crazy, but I'm super happy that she's doing it. She's very nice. So let's jump right in. Let's just jump right in and see if anybody has any questions. We had actually a couple questions that came in while I was playing Dota after work, which I probably will be doing again after this. I am really tired today, and I can't figure out why. I don't know if it's because I didn't drink as much coffee today. We were talking about sleep and drugs and caffeine and that kind of thing in this last the last question session. And it's really been on my mind. So I started to cut back on the caffeine. I didn't have any coffee this morning, and I was dragging all day. And I hear that that's what happens with caffeine addiction. But I don't know. So I've been fighting that. And one of the ways that I fight being tired, especially at the end of the day, is to play a game or go for a walk or something like that. So I was playing some Dota. And we've had a couple of people asking questions earlier. Random things like what's my favorite candy and ice cream and things like that. And then we had somebody ask if it's okay to tech talk while I'm gaming. Obviously it is. I don't care. Let's see. And here we go. Just started a new job as a Go dev in an American company. Turns out my manager likes Dota. That's awesome. Are you good at advanced math? No, I'm not. I'm not good at advanced math. I wish I was. I'm not. I did, I got A's in 300 level calculus in college, but I didn't do well after that. What else do we have here? I'm just reading through the questions. Let me go back to close-up mode. Again, if you have a question, go ahead and just type it in. If you want it to be seen, put Q in front of it. You can also put it on the stage. In fact, let me go ahead and post that we're doing questions and advice to Discord. If you want to join in Discord, you can do that as well. Let me go to the stage in Discord, start the stage, paste, start stage. So we can get some people in there if they want. Raise hand list has moved. Interesting. No. Oh, wow. Okay. Allow requests from everyone. Oh, that's really cool. Okay. Let's go ahead and put a Twitter notification out, and we'll just go until we're out of questions. Probably 45 minutes or so. rnvx.rob.tv, live stream, coding, FAQ, AMA, Twitch. Get a couple of people in here. And if not, we'll just go. One of the reasons I want to do this is I wanted to start covering the questions that have been entered over the years in Discord that I haven't answered because I'm busy doing other things. So here's another question. So I spent a chunk of my time on neovim from vimscript to Lua. But in the end, I had to drop it because it just wasn't efficient compared to vscode. And I see that you use regular Vim without any plugins. So I'm wondering what your opinion is. Oh, that's a great question. I'm going to copy that question out. I've answered this question a lot, but I'm gonna go ahead and answer it again because it's so common. Let me see if I can get to my question session here. I have a Z for this. I want to remember the questions so that I can put them in the description. So let's do that. Let's do Z edit. Is it Q&A? I don't remember. I made a Zettelkasten on that entry. No, that's not it. You know what? Let's just make like an ongoing dev server about this. Do we have a Git repo for this already? Do we have one? I think we might already have one. I think we might already have a Git repo. I don't remember what its name though. I'm gonna go look and see. If you don't know what a Git repo is, it's a place to put source code. I'm gonna go look and see if I have a recent one that I've added that I'm not aware of, I don't remember. And then I'm gonna keep a central Git repo for all the questions and answers, and try to keep it to be the same. It looks like I don't have any recent. God, look at this. This is me doing code. This is the bonsai, and then this is summer. It's funny, isn't it? All right, so wait a second. Here we go. Repositories. No, I guess I'll just have to have another one. What should we call it? Question conversation. So let me just do this live. github.com. remixrob. Let's see if we have anything awesome. Go boost VM. cb.fn fonts. Job lab. Workspace. Blah blah blah. Z. What should we call it? Let's call it questions, advice, and conversations. So gh repo create from scratch. Yes, we'll call it questions, advice, conversations. That's a big old long repo name, but I don't care. And we'll just call it. We'll put a phone. Let's put a phone in there. So again, on Discord, if you want to raise your hand and actually talk, you can. If you prefer to express yourself in voice, not everybody wants to do that, but if you do, you can. That's one of the reasons we're doing this. This also goes on YouTube. Questions, advice, and conversations. And this is different than a Z. A Z is something that I'm just going to do, right? I don't want to git ignore. Would I like a license? Yes. Let's do Creative Commons open so everybody can cite it. Do I want to create a? Yes, I want to create one. Clone a new repo locally? Yes. And questions, I'll never forget where that is from now on. So let's do vi readme.md. The cool thing about this is I can actually do it by date. So htitle. Wait, not htitle. I can do hnow. How about that? There's hnow. Why does it say 1045 UTC? I need to fix that. All right, I'll fix that later. So here's one of the questions. And then what I'll do is I'll link to the video in here. How about that? And you can just go watch all the videos at once. How about that? Let's do that. And then I'll quote the questions. That sound good? It seems to be working so far. So here is the answer, and I'll put the answer in the video. Okay. And then I'll just put the questions just so I know what questions we have. So let's put the same thing here. Phone. And we'll put questions, advice, and conversations. All right. Yeah. And that's it. I think we'll put the most recent ones at the top so people can just go to the top and see that, and they can kind of log. It'd be kind of a reverse log. And again, these questions, people are going to ask these questions like, the same question all the time. That's fine. If you want to add the same question, that's totally fine. So let me just mark this really quick. I wish I could actually mark it. I'm going back to the most recent messages. So let's talk about this. So again, the whole neovim thing. Now, I've answered the neovim question in one of my commands, but I did it rather meanly. So there's a swear word in here, and I'm going to show it right now. And then I'm going to explain myself in a nicer way. Okay, so one of the things to understand is that neovim causes me an extreme amount of stress because 2 years ago, I went through and did an evaluation of neovim and created a rather extensive breakdown of it, thinking I was going to like it, and I didn't. That's all I have to say about that. And I'm actually trying to find. Let me see if I can find where it is in my RWXGG stuff. I think it's in, is it Vim? No, it's not Vim. It's, I can't remember where I put it. VI Magic is, all right, so let's start with VI Magic, okay? So if you know how to use VI, and there's an entire boost, every year there's been an entire boost, day pretty much dedicated to VI, and why to use it, and all of that. Unfortunately, those who don't understand the powerful shell integration build stupid things like neovim. And in the past, I've been really mean. First of all, before I get into this, I want you to understand this is not a personal attack. If you like neovim and you use neovim, that's good. I don't dislike you. I strongly disagree with your choices, but there are people that are some of my best friends in the world who love neovim and they use it all the time. And I love those people. I literally love them. I like hang out with them and everything. And they're not, so I can strongly disagree with your choice of editor and think it's a stupid decision without thinking you're stupid. Making one stupid decision doesn't make you stupid. Making a lot of them, well, I don't know, So I don't want anybody to feel personally attacked by this answer. I get this all the time. In fact, this is the discussion about neovim is the thing that led to the drama that I don't want to go into with other Twitch streamers, some of whom I strongly respect and others whom I've lost all respect whatsoever for based on their behavior. But it doesn't matter. What matters most is why I came to dislike neovim. So unlike a lot of people who will just hate on a thing and start with a conclusion and put that in Twitter and pick a fight, I went into this wanting to like neovim, and slowly but surely I came to hate it, like really detest it, and to detest the community as well. The community of neovim has the gall to create a vimconf that has nothing to do with neovim, that's completely against what Brahms would have even wanted to do. And they try to say that Brahms supports it. He doesn't. And so, it just kept aching on me. But so here is the link. This is the short answer to it. I'm going to let you, it's so new. It's not new and shiny. It's old and busted, but you can't tell that. It's neovim is my imagination of what a bunch of Roblox programmers decided to make when they found out that Vim wasn't to their liking and they couldn't use plugins and didn't understand Unix. That's my interpretation of what happened and how neovim came to be. And Brahms been so in case you don't know the history of neovim, all right, the history of neovim is Vim used to not be multi-threaded in 7, and it had some other problems with it, and it's always been under really, really strongly gatekept by Brahm, the guy who made it. And did I get the name right? I hope. And so that's been the ongoing problem. And so a bunch of, well, we're going to take our ball and go make our own editor people decided to make an entire editor in Lua, as far as I know. And so they just set out to make this editor the way they wanted to. And they ended up making basically a terminal version of vscode that looks and feels like Vim, but it's not Vim at all. In many ways, it's not even compatible with Vim. And some of the stuff that they took out is just really bad. So the fact that they took out better configuration instead of like using VI as the extension, people who thought this was better configuration didn't have any concept of what ed even was or its power. They just decided to throw it all out because it was some old boomer shit. And they didn't seek to understand before they rebuilt this. And that's totally their prerogative, but it's not what I agree with. So you can go through all these point by points and I'll give them to you, but the single number one reason not to use neovim is because it will make you irrelevant as an operations hacker systems backend person. And if you don't believe me, there's an engineer on my team right now who constantly struggles because he can't get neovim and oh my Z shell on our production jump login boxes. And so there's no neovim in any form on any certification exam. There's also no Emacs. But there is VI and Vim on every container engine ever made, every container OS made, like BusyBox and Alpine. And there is VI on every login system. And it's the default. It's the default editor on all systems. I mean, they made Nano the default editor for a while, and that was a dubious decision as well. You really don't need it, by the way. I mean, if you use VI, go to VI survive. This will, if you let yourself use the arrow keys, which Nano does, then you can use this, and it's actually easier than Nano to start with VI. I'm not even kidding. It's easier to start with VI than it is to start with Nano, if you allow yourself to use the arrow keys just to get started. Okay, I've seen this. I've done this with 9-year-olds. In fact, I have a $500 bounty that went unclaimed to my group at SkillStack for 5 years, actually 5 years, 2016 on, saying if anybody can find any organization on planet Earth that's teaching VI to 9-year-olds, I'll pay them the money, and it never came through. Because I challenged myself to be able to get people started really early. And I'm not even kidding. I've had people using the VI editor as young as 9 and 10 years old, barely could type, and they were able to use it. It was great. So I don't want to hear your crap about VI being hard, or nobody can learn it, or I can't exit it. Oh, that's such a funny joke. No, it's not. It's lame. It just shows that you don't actually know it. No, or have you even tried? You're just following along with the rest of the sheep hating on VI. The worst are the people who are old and call it a boomer tech, and they have no clue what they're talking about. They have no clue, and they've never written a Unix filter. They don't even know what Unix is. They can't tell you the difference between Unix and Linux. They have no historical background, but they love throwing shit. All right, if you can tell, I'm a little sensitive about this, because just by saying I don't like neovim makes me like public enemy number one in a lot of circles. So this is the reason I don't like it. It doesn't have better configuration. It has incompatible configuration. In fact, one of the worst things about it is that you can't take your single configuration vimrc file and just send it with SCP over to another machine and be completely up and running. You just can't do that, right? Vim does have plugin support, which we're going to cover in 2 weeks on the Boost on Sundays, but try that with your Lua. It just makes me laugh because it's so naive. It's just so naive. So anyway, did I spell it wrong? Yeah, there's probably tons of spelling mistakes here. I have to make a decision. Put stuff out that's got spelling mistakes, or not put anything else out. So you're going to find a lot of low quality things like that. Thank you for letting me know, though. Better defaults. The second thing on neovim compares 42 different defaults. This is so bad, I can't even tell you. To change a default from VI behavior is really, really bad, because you want to be able to know you can use the default when you get on the system. Now, there are cases where that does make sense. I mean, this is one of the few things where you can copy your RC with you and be okay with it. With tmux, I totally disagree with that approach, and I always customize tmux to behave like screen, because screen is a different thing, and we will cover that again in 2 weeks. And the Boost when we go through all the configuration files. Multiple API and plugin support. This is actually a reason not to use it. You don't want a lot of APIs and plugin support. It's a text editor. It's not an IDE. Neovim people try to make Neovim into an IDE. It's not. It's not an IDE, right? It's just not. Change features. Every single feature that changes is ridiculous. Things like JSON decoder, silly when commands like JQ exist. Again, just more evidence that it doesn't have a clue what even exists out there. Missing legacy features. They dropped the if Perl, which is really stupid. They removed the X support, the X command. They removed the view command, vimdiff and shell. Then removed like standard things that have been in VI since 1970 for 76 for like no reason. 78, 80, well, probably 82 actually. Again, incredible indecisions for people who never actually learned to use Vim. They don't know how. They even took out smile for no reason, which is just so dumb. It's like, whatever. More accessible team. No, their team is not more accessible. The team is full of woke lords who, if you disagree with them, will cancel your ass and do whatever the hell they want. They are worse than Braum. Braum gatekeeps, but at least he'll hear you out, and then he's maintained a gatekeeping thing. No, they're not. And they're not. It's not a more accessible team. This is absolute bullshit. External plugins is a separate process, which is having a plugin at all is a bad idea. So if you don't know why, you don't understand Unix. Better support for Alacrity. No, it doesn't need more support for Alacrity. We already have other terminals, and Alacrity is full of bugs. So many bugs I had to abandon it after I used it a year. Give Vim healthy competition. Giving Vim competition certainly cannot hurt. This is true. They did get Vim to add, multi-threaded support and some of the things like that. And they got Vim to look at, Vim 9 and thing. But I don't even use Vim 9 because why? I'm not going to get it on any system I'm ever logged into until it becomes the standard default on Ubuntu and Red Hat. I'm not interested in it. It has panes. Yeah. If you're using panes in your Vim, you are really failing because you could be using tmux panes instead and use copy and paste across everything on your terminal session instead of having to boot up VI to do this. I see people use panes on Vim all the time, and it just is so sad because they have to use i3 or something else to open up an entirely separate terminal just to copy and paste from that terminal over into their VI session because they use VI panes to manage their windows instead of tmux. If they had used tmux from the very get-go and they learned how to copy and paste, which by the way is 100% compatible with Screen, which dates back to the 80s, Now you have terminal-based copy and paste, and your fingers know what to do on any system that's got Screen or tmux on it, and you don't have to depend on VI's panes at all. That's an IDE thing. It's not a text editor thing, so it has no business being there. And I see people do it all the time. I just laugh. Because they don't know better. I was like, fine, do what you want. That's fine. It does. It has tons of bugs and stuff. I don't even want to talk about it. It does have a prettier command line, but people don't know that they can customize their Vim command line, thing to look like they want to, as I have done. I don't know if you can see this, but mine has been completely customized. I do not. I detest line numbers. They take up too much line space. They're distracting, and I would rather look down here for my line number when I need a line number. I don't do the offsets or any of those things. Those are just personal preferences. I don't fault anybody for doing something different from that. But why am I so harsh on neovim? The restart out more objective. The reason is because they just really didn't even try. And then they love to throw stuff at other people, and then they love to push their marketing on everybody as being like the best, newest thing. And instead, they're actually really, really hurting beginners. Neovim is objectively bad for beginners. People who learn neovim first constantly complain to me afterwards when they realize they didn't need to do any of that, and they could have, and once they get an actual job doing something, then they get in the business arena and they're like, oh my God, I had to learn Vim instead of neovim, and they start, you're right. And I'm just so tired of hearing it, because the people that push neovim don't care about the people that they're helping. They just want them to use their thing to make it popular and push it up. It's not even 1.0 neovim hasn't even been released. It's still beta software. No kidding. Go look at it. Neovim is not even production code yet. The latest version is, let's go see, maybe this has changed. Let's go see if this has changed. It's like the current stable release version is 0.7. So, and yeah, you can pay Bitcoin too, because we think Bitcoin's a good idea. Terraform has wide adoption before 1.02. All right, fine. I don't like Terraform either. Not the way other people do, just blindly. Terraform is a tool, just like anything, right? And a lot of that stuff doesn't need to be done. But anyway, we don't want to talk about Terraform right now. If you want to use neovim, fine. I think you're a fool for choosing it, and especially if you're a beginner. Okay. Yeah. So neovim is an editor, right? And I would just rather a nice looking website. That's the one thing neovim did right. That's what the creator of Vim had to say about neovim. All right. Lua for plugins and config is so good. I love it. This is somebody who does not do any kind of operations work. The only people that I would recommend even consider neovim, let me suggest this, okay? If you want to use neovim, fine, but the people who need to be considering neovim are, one, the people who know how to use Vim already. All right. If you already know how to use Vim already and it doesn't meet your needs, two, you're an extensive plugins user, which means that you don't care about being portable to multiple systems. That means you're doing like web development on one system and you're never working on anything else. And most of the Twitch people who use neovim, that explains them. In fact, most of the people that use neovim code in TypeScript. Almost all of them. It's almost like this like deal between TypeScript programmers and neovim. They're like almost always go hand in hand. And you know, I don't get it. They also use Oh My Z Shell, and they do a lot of it from their Macs, or they use i3 on a single machine, and they don't use multiple systems. So if you don't mind being locked down to a single computer where you can download all your completely useless plugins, then fine, go ahead and use it. But if there's some extra thing that's there that you don't feel like you can do with a Unix filter script, or you know, just one of the basic basic Vim plugs using the plug utility, which is far more portable, by the way. The plug utility actually uses Git to manage plugins. It's just more organized and across the board, and it's not in Lua. If you're obsessed with Lua, then maybe you want to have neovim be on your local system. But otherwise, I think it's a huge mistake. And I would rather use VS Code before I would use neovim, because that's an IDE that has far more adoption. It can do way more things locally. It might take 5 minutes to boot up with 10 plugins loaded, but if I'm going to boot up an IDE and leave it running all the time, then I would go with VS Code or JetBrains or any number of things that are way, way, way better than neovim for doing, management of 10,000, lines of code bases and stuff like that, where Vim starts to fall on its face. Vim wasn't made for that, right? It's just a text editor. But if you really, really, really like the Vim experience, and you want, for some reason, you want the monolithic, advantages of a big thing with lots of plugins, then maybe neovim is the thing. And the thing I find funny, though, is we just had in the chat just now today, we had somebody complain about the speed of neovim after they got a certain number of plugins in there. So, I mean, at that point, why are you doing it? If it takes like 60 seconds or 30 seconds to even just start your editor, man, you've really shot yourself in your foot in my world. People tell me all the time, why are you like, are we done?
Dinner's ready.
All right, okay. People tell me all the time, like, why are you booting up and then booting down? Why are you going in and out of your editor all the time? I'm like, because I can. Right? You can't, that's what VI is supposed to be. It's supposed to be a wicked fast editor that you can pull up anytime and close out and then pull up something else. Try to do that in neovim or Emacs. Forget it. Right? And that's why when you pull up Emacs, you got to have like everything loaded, and you got to like fuzzy find some other file and all this stuff. It's because it's completely designed for a different type of work interface. The fast. So this is not my preference, specifically for beginners. That was a long block of text. Yes. And that's all I have to say about that. So let's move to a different topic. Maybe we can find one that I won't rant about so hardly. But I feel like we've talked about this one. I kind of over talked about it. All right. So let's go in my messy room again. I don't even care. I just stream with my messy room now. What's a Unix filter? Somebody was asking what a Unix filter is. Okay, so let's talk about Unix filter. What's a Unix filter? And I'm going to give you the short version of this. This is all covered in the boost, but people ask these questions. So I'm going to cover it really quickly. Kind of the TLDR. That was not a TLDR, but when somebody asks me why I hate something, I feel sort of irresponsible just saying because it sucks and letting it go. So you're going to get a longer answer from me when I don't like something and I'm possibly going to be offending people, because I want you to see where I'm coming from, as opposed to just saying, well, he's just a hater. right? I'm not. I really wish, in fact, when I found out that it wasn't using vimscript and it wasn't, a good faith extension of a fork of Vim, I started getting sad because I kind of wanted it to be that, because they have a point about Vim being locked down and not community driven and stuff. They have a real solid point on that. But the rest of it is just trash. So I was like really frustrated because I was hoping it was going to be more than that. All right. So, what's a Unix filter and why should I care? I've answered this question so many times, but I'm going to try to get fast at answering a Unix filter. All right. A Unix filter is based on the Unix philosophy in general. So, you can go search the internet and you'll get a faster answer, right? What is a Unix filter? All right. So, and it's covered in the boost, I think on like the third week, I want to say. Let's go see what we have. Pipes and filters. In this chapter, what makes a Unix filter a powerful concept for processing data? What have you done with Unix filters? How can you tune a Unix filter into a network server? Pipes and filters in Linux and Unix. So pipes and filters are the thing that they're like the implementation or the manifestation of the Unix philosophy that makes it really, really powerful. And what it allows you to do is chain things together. And speaking of which, even though there's not any Unix filters, and I am going to plug something that someone brought to my attention called the command challenge. So this is cmdchallenge.com. I think it was 5Shot who showed me this. This is ridiculously addicting. And if you want to learn about the power, you want to practice the powerful combination of different Unix filters or Unix commands, or command filters, whatever you want to call them, into pipelines, you can come here and try this. I was ridiculously surprised to discover that this thing is actually sending code straight to a Unix system on the back end, and has completion and everything in it, so that when you run it, you get this solid output. It's really, really great. And I don't know who showed us this, but I am super happy with it. So this is a more of a script. I tend to make my command lines more into bash scripts than pipelines with set and awk. I really detest set and awk. Awk in particular, I really hate it. I would rather do it with Perl or just, bash or whatever. So, because I don't like all the sub processes for that, but that's a complicated question. So this is one of our answers. You can go back in the history. I learned about the factor command, which just takes a bunch of random numbers. But this, I want you to see these because this is a sample of a pipe, right? So you have something piping into something else, right? So, so in this case, I'm using this site. Normally I would use my terminal, but I want you to see, we're not on the right one. We have to go. So here's the first one. Your challenge is to print hello world to the terminal in a single command. I'm using this because I really want you to use this. I think this is a great tool. So obviously installing a terminal is great as well. But if you don't have that in a school or something, this is really great. So so how would you do that? Echo hello world. So that's a Unix command, right? Access, let's see, wait, what's this one? Print the current working directory, list all of the names, one per file. All right, so, but at a certain level, you start getting to the point where you need to combine things together, and that is when you start using a pipeline. Okay, so, and I covered this in the boost. Let me see. So, strictly speaking, a Unix filter is any executable script or a compiled program that takes as standard input lines or any data, but usually lines, and does something to those lines and then produces output, right? And if you know about map, filter, reduce, that's what it is. In fact, the Unix command line is very functional. I mean, because, it's not always a Unix filter. Sometimes it might be a Unix map, right? It's going to take a line, it's going to modify that line and do something with it on the output and send it on its way. That's a very functional approach. So that's what a Unix filter is. And if it has an argument, a Unix filter often will do something to the file, or it will take something from its input and go. The simplest one, of course, is cat. So like if you were to do like cat build, it just dumps out the build command one line at a time. as you can see, right? So if I wanted to do that, I could cat build. This is a bad idea because most of these, using cat at the beginning of a pipeline is usually a bad idea because you can usually send a file to it. But you could do that. You could pass that to, was it LC? What is the line number one? I forget. I never use it. It's not LN. It's, what is it? What is the one that shows the line numbers? You guys remember? I don't use that much. Line numbers on Linux terminal. NL? Is it? I thought it was NL. Maybe I don't have it. It is NL. Okay. So number line. Okay. So there we go. So NL is a good example of a command that is a filter. So if we just do cat build, it takes the file and doesn't do anything to it. It just spits it out. And we pipe that into the input of NL, and NL does one transformation. It puts the line number at the beginning of the line. That's it, right? And you can continue to go on to this. You can say, I want to grep out the lines that begin with the 1, for example. Oops, there are none apparently. Well, actually, no, because it would be space 1, right? Let me see. What would it be? It would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. I'm just being dumb here. Okay, so here's all the lines that have a 1 in the second place. There we go. There's all the lines that begin with 1. And we can pipe that into more. And then we have only the line numbers that begin with 1. I mean, for some dumb reason. Now, why do you care? So this is an example of pipelining or connecting together Unix filter commands that usually sit around. Like if you just use cat by itself or any standard filter, it'll wait around for you to type something in. You can say like, okay, something, and then you see another thing, right? Until you say Control D and then stop, right? So a Unix filter takes as its input standard input, but if there's nothing sent to its standard input, it will do something. It will either sit around and wait for standard input, or it will take a file or the name of a file to do something with, right? And you can send stuff to these programs. So we can do I could do NL build, and that will give me my whole script. Let's zoom in, by the way. So I can do NL build and we get everything, right? If I wanted to send build as standard input, I could do it like that. If I wanted to send, just a string into it, I could send some. I don't think we can do this, but let's try. I don't think it observes. Yeah, it only does it as one line. So this idea of chaining together Unix filter commands is very powerful. So your next question is, well, what the hell does that have to do with neovim, right? Or any of those kind of things. And for that, I'm going to refer you to vimscript, rwx.gg/vimscript. And when you go here, you'll see what I mean. Now, I always I've demonstrated this so many times that it's getting kind of old, right? But let's say, I don't know, let's say we're editing. What was the repo we just made? Questions. There we go. So let's say we're in here and I want to add another date. All right. So I've created a program, now. I've created a very, 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 very simple Unix filter with using shell, not even a bash shell. And yeah. And so here we're echoing it. So, and it says, all it does is echo the current thing. You're like, well, why would I do that, right? Because I could have just typed it in here. I can type echo # space now, which is another command. This is this is the Unix way. Build up a bunch of commands that operate together. And now I can run this whole thing, right? I can bang and then send that to bash, and we get that. Well, let's say I want to do it all the time, right? Now I just have to put it into a script, and I type hnow, and I get it. If I type now, I get the input of now. It replaces the current line with the now timestamp, which is off because my VM's off at the time, but oh well. We should bash script. Well, yeah, I mean that they're similar, right? So, but the point is that you build up a collection of things that don't just work in VI; they work everywhere, right? And you can combine them together. So the now here is here, right? Now it is doing the time zone thing, in which is fine. I see that it's doing the base. I got to change my base time zone, but so you see what it's doing. It's also using POSIX shell instead of bash. But the point is, the $sign. Yeah, it's just reading it all in there. So let's give you another example of that. I mean, if you want, we could try. I don't know if this is the one. Okay, here we go. Load. Yes. All right. So we could also do this. We could say, I want to count from 1 to 10 for I in. Now, this is not a Unix filter, but I could put it in a Unix filter, right? What if I wanted to make, I'm inside of VI, and let's say I wanted to make these things, let's say I want to number those, right? I can do bang, bang, NL, and I can automatically number them. You see what I just did? So exclamation point, right curly bracket, and then pass that entire thing to NL, which reads from the standard input, and I can do that, and it will put the things there. I can also do, so all of these are Unix filters. Every single one is a Unix filter. I can use BC, which is a calculator, to do complicated math for me. I can say scale equals 2, and I can say 2/3, and I can do bang bang BC, and we get 166.66, right? I can have a series of different things. If I wanted to see the factorial of a whole bunch of numbers here, right? If I want to see which ones have factorials, I can pass that entire thing to the factor command. And now I get the factorials of all of those lines immediately in my Vim without leaving it. Why? And there's no plugins involved at all. Nothing I did has any plugin in it at all. And this is what I mean by Unix filters, and this is why you should care. Because not only does it inform and make you a powerful VI user, but it on any system, by the way, since 1976 or whatever, I can't remember when Epic was, but it also makes it so that you can string those and combine those together in your scripts directory or your monolith if you want, like I do with Z, my ZPomo. ZPomo, I have a monolith that's got all of my commands in it that will run on any operating system, including Windows. That I can take it over there if I want to get unique timestamps, right? I can do unique ISO-nan. I want to get an ISOSEC timestamp, and I can use that. And now I can use that on any system, and I can use the same Unix philosophy on PowerShell if I want. It doesn't matter because I can go here and go Z unique ISOSEC bang bang. Oops, sorry, bang bang bash. And because Z is a Unix filter, as are all those commands, I can replace it with the current Unix filter. So that's what I'm talking about with that kind of thing. How are we on time? So we have about we have another 10 minutes for questions. Let me go scroll down and see if we missed any good ones that are related to this. So we have stuff about Dota 3 coming out. That's interesting. I want to talk about that maybe later. While I'm playing Dota, let's talk about Dota 3. We talked about the boost, and we did VI Survive. Thank you for the spelling mistake correction. VI, Vim, neovim, and are text editors in Linux. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Yes, they are. That's what they are. I know what Vim is, but none of the other things. They're, yeah, well, they're all VI, Vim, yeah. JetBrains, if you have a lot of Vim to spare. What is the Vim version in widespread use? 8. 8 is the most widespread use, but they barely upgraded from 7 to 8 in... I actually had to change my vimrc, and in either this week or next week, next Sunday, either this Sunday or next Sunday, we're going to go through Vim configuration, and my Vim configuration, the standard thing to do when you're a beginner is to steal somebody else's Vim config and modify it to your own liking, because nobody's going to learn all of that in one sitting. There's a lot of vimscript in there, which I've never really fully learned. But I know enough to be dangerous when there, and that's really all you need. And then, but I did have to change my vimscript to conditionally ask, do I have support for this? Because I had to downgrade it, my vimrc, to work with version 7 instead of 8, because it was required by my environment. And, you know, considering the fact that my Vim 8 vimrc was too new for our enterprise login jump systems, and I had to kindly ask that they maybe put Vim 8 on there, to which they finally said, okay, you know, considering that, just for a second, compare that to what the kind of cluster, you know, that you would have if you had to deal with getting neovim to work over there with Lua. The system administrators that I work with would literally laugh in your face if you asked for neovim support on the system. They would laugh in you. They would laugh at you. Like straight up. They would be like, what do you mean you need neovim on our jump boxes? No. So, you know, that might not be the kind of company you want to work for. And maybe you want to work for a company that has neovim and all the things, and that's fine. But if you want to be successful in any enterprise, including the Fortune 500, none of which is probably going to allow you to use neovim on their host systems, then, you know, you might want to reconsider that choice. I just installed my Linux, and for the life of me, I can't get Korean to work. It shows up as whatever I install, ko locale. Oh, I don't know. I don't have any ideas for the Korean thing. I don't have any ideas at all for you. It's probably, it could be anything. It could be Vim. It could be Tmux. It could be your terminal software. I mean, there's a number of things it could be, but I don't know. I'm actually able to do Russian without a problem. So I don't know. You. It's actually you. Wait, where is it? I don't know how to do Kraka. Oh, there it is. That's not it though. That's got to have an accent on it. I don't know what to do. Anyway, so I can tell you this: Windows Preview Terminal plus Tmux plus Vim works for international stuff. Yeah, and I don't have to do any internationalization at all. It just works. That did not work, by the way, when I was doing Linux desktop. Yeah, when I was using the Linux desktop, none of that worked. So we talked about bonsai a little bit. I love the command challenge. Yes, we talked about that. Problem with writing these shell one-liners is always the escaping. Yo, hell yeah. That's why I don't like set and awk. I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you brought that up, because that is why I hate them. The escaping is a disaster when it comes to these things. It really is. And that's why I don't like it. I agree. I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said, I'm going to say I'm glad. I'm going to say it again. I'm glad you said that, because it's so annoying. Yeah, you have to do the weird stuff. And, you know, if you're going to do that, just use bash, which doesn't do the escaping as badly. So yeah. Oh, I see what you did there, Ruru, with the something. That's cool. Because it puts the literals in there. That's cool. All right. The $sign. Yeah. And we have the $sign and tip. How do you renumber the list? If you add a new item in the middle of the list, how do you renumber the list? You just renumber it. Yeah, actually, if you're going to do that, you should probably use Markdown. So, this is a short one I can answer real quick. So, you can do this, right? So, if you actually want to do line numbering, I actually don't suggest that you use NL, because you can't reline number, right? You'd have to unline number, which I don't know if you can do that. If you want to do that kind of thing, I would stick with a Markdown solution, and I would do this, right? Whoops. So capital I, one dot, right? And that's Markdown. And then you can do this if you want to render it. I have a pandoc renderer. It's called TXT, and that does the thing. And if I put this one up here and put that down there, I select the whole thing, do TXT, and it redoes the line numbers because it re-renders the Markdown. So, and if you want to see the content of my TXT filter, that's all. That's all it is. Pandoc-T plain wrap none. The end. That's it. This is why, my friends, this is why learning the Unix filter approach is so powerful. Make sure you do exec there, by the way. Is so powerful. It's so powerful because you don't. If I had, can you imagine the kind of Lua plugin I would have to make pandoc integration even work in neovim? And then I have to make sure that the plugin is managed in the right place and everything. You can put it in a pre-commit hook. Absolutely. This is because the really great thing about using the Unix philosophy is once you get it down and you start using it everywhere, you start fixing problems you didn't even know you had. And so things like get pre-commits start to work. And this over here, imagine if you locked away all of this and all of this amazing filterness inside of a Lua plugin that only works from Vim. Could you use it as a get pre-commit hook? No. You'd have to make some other filter. You'd end up making a script. And by that time, you're like, well, why didn't I just do that in the first place? And by the way, these filters can be written in Lua. Okay, so if you're a Lua fan and you know you're going to have Lua on your system, write your Unix filters in Lua. Write them in Lua. Who cares? I think it's an overkill to do that, but you certainly can. It doesn't matter. I'm doing a lot of my filters in Go because I want to put them all in one executable that I can put on any target system. This one is going to be ported eventually. All my little Unix filters are all going to get ported over into my monolith because I want to take it on any system anytime, and I don't want to have to deal with it, all the individual files. But it's nice having those individual files to kind of flesh out what it is you're building, and then you can put them all in there, and you're good to go. By the way, this goes for anything, right? So you could say something. If you want to do some like dynamic HTML, right? You could say a title here, right? And so we just did a conversation about what those are. So watch, I'm going to send this entire part down here. Let's say you want to do live HTML development, right? So you go bang G, capital G, send that entire thing to I have it set to text right now, but if I wanted to, I could do pandoc. I can just send it to pandoc, and pandoc by default renders it as HTML. So now I get HTML. You want me to do that again? Why does that work? Because pandoc is a Unix filter, just like everything else, because it's designed for Unix. So I can send, in fact, I can send this entire document to HTML. I can say bang, capital G, and send it to pandoc, and it will convert the whole thing. Now, let me tell you a case where that is really useful. So let's say you're doing tables. Nobody wants to do tables in HTML. They suck, right? So, and this is such a thing. I almost want to keep like an extra markdown version of it. I mean, you can write. I did this. There's a video about making a static site generator in 10 lines of bash with pandoc. There's a video out there about that. Let me send it to you. Vids. Static site generator, I think, and that'll help you find it. Anyway, and it will show you this kind of thing because, nobody wants to do a table, right? So we can say day, you could say day, we could say name or something, right? And you would say Wednesday, Rob, and then we need, I don't remember my table stuff very much, but yeah, it's a pain, right? So, Tuesday, Doris will say it's days to do dishes or something. So we have this table. Now I want to make it into an HTML table. Pandoc. Boom. There's my HTML table completely rendered. Now try that in VS Code, by the way. Can't do it. You cannot do Unix filters in VS Code. This is the single biggest reason I don't use VS Code. VS Code has a nice terminal in it. It has those nice previewers and stuff. But you cannot send the content, the number of lines from a file to the command line and replace those lines with the output of the command, which means that VS Code is fundamentally, against the Unix idea of doing this kind of thing. And who wants to do that. I mean, I just want to do this and have it just work. But some people want that. And I guess if you want more live previews, whatever. So, and that might be actually an argument to use neovim, because neovim is way better at VS Code for using Unix filters because it's Vim at the end of the day, even though it makes a lot of dubious decisions about how to extend Vim. That's going to be it for today. They will allow me Emacs in, yes. Eventually they'll put an Emacs out there, probably. I want to CLI to be English. Don't know about that one. Play the Dota theme on electric violin. You might like it. I'll have to try that. I need a Russian keyboard. I don't have a Russian keyboard. There's a really great Russian American keyboard, which is way better. It actually takes combinations like Y and A, and that turns it into Ya and stuff. So let's see. Missing the font. That might be it. Put in pre-kick commit hook. Yes. Minerva's showing us what a filter is. Let's see. Quick question about. Wait, where is it? Let's see if I. Quick question about VI commands. When I go to the end of a file, the cursor never goes beyond the last letter. So when I push to input text, I have to type between the last letter and delete it later. Any solution to this? Let me see if I understand your question. This should be a fast question, so we'll end with this one. But this is a good question. 8-month subscriber. Thank you for that. Thank you for that, HypnoSlimyToady. What a great name that is. All right, so is it A for append or O to append a line? When I get to the end of a line, the cursor never goes beyond the last letter. So when I push to input I, you go here and you push I and it does before. Yeah, you want A here. I actually use capital A. My favorite is capital A because I can be anywhere in the line and do capital A and it will start putting stuff at the end. I don't use A very much because I'm never at the end of the file, ever. And capital A would work there too. If you're at the end, capital A would also work. I am extremely lazy VI user. So, like, for example, all of the extra navigation things, no. I do this for everything, right? Like if I want to delete to beyond, I'll like do D/beyond and it'll delete everything. I search for everything. The most common thing that I use in VI is / for searching for things and dot for repeating. By far, it's by far the most frequent. That and deleting paragraphs with DAP, or yanking paragraphs with YAP. Those would probably be my most, and that undo, of course. So yeah, I use capital A for everything. I use capital A for all of that stuff. I thought you were like stuck here and want to add something to the line after that. And people are like, what do? I can't get to after the line. And that's O, right? So that's O. Another one I never use is big O, because big O adds a line right above, which is kind of useful, but I don't ever use that. So hopefully that'll give you some things to look at. More efficient. Well, lazy and efficient are kind of synonyms in the Linux world. We use them affectionately. We say lazy kind of affectionately in this world. Lazy programmers are the best programmers. It's like a long time thing. What do I think about GPG? I had to use it today with my new job. It's not very user friendly. Oh my God, no. In fact, let's do GPG. Frank, let's do that question again. How do I make line comments so quickly? These line comments, that's when I keep getting sucked into answering more questions. I can't answer GPG right now, my friend. It's just too much to answer. Well, we're going to do a whole day on GPG in the boost, so stay tuned on that one. What did you mean line comments? Do you mean like, but with a GUI so you don't have to memorize commands? That would defeat the purpose of Vim. That would not work. That wouldn't be Vim if you did that. There is a certain, if you're going to do that, just use VI. If you want to use the mouse, period, then use something else. We're still going. We're almost done.
You want me to put the food away, or
No, leave it out. I'm about done. I'm getting yelled at, guys. She had tone in that comment, which means she's annoyed. So I got to go. So ping, ask me that question tomorrow. I gotta go. How does it add them? Well, Vim automatically adds a comment when it wraps. Oh, how do I do that? It's just a CMT. It's another filter, right? So blah, 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 blah. All right, let's comment this, right? Bang, whatever, CMT. That's a comment. It's another filter. This is it. That's it. It reads from the line. We did this, by the way, and it just echoes with a comment line. And if you want to use a different thing in the front, it does that. So that's how you do that. Okay. And you can undo it. I actually cheat with this all the time, and I use it to like add extra spaces sometimes when I want to do cheating. I just do indentation. People tell me to use visual mode. I'm like, screw that, because I have exact control over it. I don't have to do any selection. I don't know why people use visual mode in VI at all. It makes me so tired watching them. I'm like, really? Because I could have just done that, and I could do this. What's the go comment I could do? Whoopsie, CMT. I mean, you want to put tabs there. Fine. It's, by the way, that I also do that because I'm used to doing these filter commands. Obviously, I could do that using the long-winded, space G enter. No, that's like way too annoying. CMT done. Right. I also have a PPP and a YYY for making my own buffers, so I don't have to use the buffers in Vim because I hate them. So call me lazy, but that's what I do. And this is like a server. Yeah, I hate visual mode. I've always hated it. It's not VI even, by the way. It's not supported in VI at all. So you need to learn those other methods as well, or you're dead. So yeah. Anyway, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for tuning in and saying hi to us and putting up with my little rants. Hopefully I didn't make anybody too angry. As usual, I'm open to new information and change my opinions all the time based on what other people bring to the table. And I think that people here could probably tell you that that's true. I do want to go catch the sunset tonight, so I'm going to be woofing down some food, and I may make it to the sunset in time. We might not make it tonight, but I'm going to go out there anyway, and we'll be doing an IRL stream relatively soon after this, so within the next half an hour or so. If you want to come back for that. I am going to go ahead though and stop the video now, and then